Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Entrpre-Doers show this Monday morning. I am joined this morning by my lovely fiance, Destiny, the Shamrock Pixie.
Hello.
Nate is over here to the next to me. We got Anthony down there, kitty corner from me, and Joe from the Family Flips is joining us again this Monday. He's going to tell us a little bit about his business model and what he does, and share a little bit for people that might want to expand, grow, or look into different ways to generate some revenue. Before we dive into that, though, we definitely need Anthony to say the good mornings and let us know who has brownie points.
Sure, absolutely. Brownie points go to Sandollar this morning. Almost Justin Jacobs. Like, he just got you there.
He's working it. He's working it, man. He's trying.
He wants some brownies. The funny part is I'm pretty sure he's the one that said he doesn't like brownies, too. But we appreciate you fighting for them points, Justin. What's up to Steven Scroggins? Good to see you, buddy. Michelle Lathan, good morning. Reseller Man, how are you? Kelly, the Ecom Mom Ward. DC Sales, the master of the license plate. Kelly, the Ecom Mom. Uh-oh. Somebody noobed it up, and it wasn't me this time.
It was
me. Lisa C., good morning to you. Oh, there I go, noobing it up.
That was you. let me hit my mute on my phone before.
That's what I was doing.
BK Vending and Flipping, what is up, Matt? Tommy Bernard, how you doing, my man? Glad to see you. Veronica, the cherry picker, good to see you. Punches Retails, good morning. Glad to see you here this morning. And that's everyone so far. If there's anybody else that we haven't said hello to, feel free to say something in the chat, and we will gladly greet you. But, yeah, it's a good morning. It's Monday. Time to get all them weekend packages shipped. Luckily, you won't hear any tape done from me this morning because I've retired it from the hours of 10 Eastern through noon Eastern.
Cool.
Hey, what's up, Glenn? Swamp Picker, good to see you. He'll be with us on Thursday.
Cool.
And then we do have a pretty big announcement too. As of now, we are currently and totally up to date with all past episodes. So if you ever want to catch a replay or listen to a replay while you're out in the car, whatever, we now have all our shows replayed on podcast, and we can be found on Spotify. We're waiting for approval on 5 other podcasting platforms, and we'll update those as they become available.
Yeah, and that's awesome.
I did drop a link into there too, so if people wanted to go on their Spotify and bookmark the Entrpre-Doers or whatever. That way, not everybody's available for the live show, and sometimes, you know, in a car, it's easier to listen. You don't really need to see who's looking.
I'm going to actually steal that link because I want to start putting that in the descriptions of the shows.
All right, cool. So, Joe, I know we were supposed to be joined by your lovely wife this morning, but you had a scheduling conflict.
Yeah, I messed up. I made a boo-boo. You know, I don't always communicate what's going on in my head. And she's usually here on Mondays working. So I'm like, she'll be here Monday. And so we went over our weekly schedule last night. And she's like, I have an appointment tomorrow morning with Jolynn. I'm like, yeah, that sucks. Because we're supposed to be doing an interview together. And so I'm sorry, everybody who was wanting my lovely wife on here. I know a lot of you got me on Friday, so you got me again by myself. But we'll come back on at some point. I think Tommy and I were talking about last night. Yep. We'll bring her on because she's a lot more fun than me. A lot more fun. And so
I was telling Destiny, I was like, if you watched her videos when Joe comes on, he does his videos, he's very much business to the point. But when you're sitting side by side with your wife, it's more of a laid back Joe you see.
It is. Yeah. I get boom. And she helps slow me down. But we also, when we're together, we really try to make it conversational. And where we're just, we're talking, but we're inviting people in to kind of what our life really. And that's where we've struggled. We're doing more YouTube now. We didn't used to do a lot because I'm like an all or nothing guy. And I hate just putting stuff out to put stuff out. So we've really been trying to really figure out how do we tell the story of our life and put it out for the world to see. And we've been working on some things behind the scenes that we're hoping to announce very soon to the world. That's extremely excited, but it's helping us tell the story of our business and our family. So we've got a lot of things that we're doing with YouTube moving forward that should be a lot of fun.
It's awesome. I'm looking forward to seeing that.
So for people that don't know you, and we want to keep them on edge for new content or big news you may have coming out, but why don't you give them a brief summarized background of your lifestyle and what you guys are about?
Well, let's see. I originally started reselling when I was probably like 8 years old. I was born in 1980, so I grew up in the era of baseball cards. So I was flipping baseball cards on the weekend. I was the kid that would drive his bike, 5 miles across town to buy Laffy Taffies for 10 cents. And then I would take him to school and I would sell them for $0.25. And then I would just start the whole process over. And then, I would use that money to go and gamble at lunchtime, play card games, in junior high. And then I would, get more money that way. So, my hustling, my reselling started very early on in my life. I always loved working. At 14 years old, I started working at one of my good friends. His dad had bought a pizza store, so I started working there at 14 years old. At 15, I was actually the manager of the store on Sundays. My dad, it was so funny. My dad would drop me off like at 9 o'clock in the morning. I would go and get the store opened up, do all the prep, get money aligned, get the delivery drivers lined out. And then I would work at the pizza store managing it until like 6 or 7 o'clock that night when the normal manager would come in. And so that, grew in. I spent 20 years in the restaurant industry, general manager for Cracker Barrel, Starbucks, Chili's. And it's probably when I was, how old am I now? 39. When I was 34, I was living in Nashville, Tennessee. And I was like, I hate working in restaurants. I'm tired of all of this. I miss home. So I was married at that time. I came home and then my wife, she divorced me. It was sad. My fault, I worked all the time. So if you're a man that works all the time out there, I'm gonna give you a little advice. Make time for your wife. Make time for your family, because I didn't, and it messed up, which I'm blessed now because I have 3 amazing kids. I have a wonderful wife. We do this all together. And here's that rabbit trail I was telling you about earlier. I'll connect it together, I hope. So we moved back to Arkansas. I went through divorce. And at that point in time, I was like, I'm done working. I'm a Christian. I was praying to the Lord. I'm like, I'm tired of this. I'm tired of the corporate world. I'm tired of slaving over somebody's business. I want something of my own. So it started kind of this progression, or like just through prayer. He's like, a year from now, you're not going to be working in that. And then like a month later, it was like 6 months. Then a month later, it was 3 months. And then I remember it was one Friday evening. I was driving down the interstate on my motorcycle, and I was just praying, like, I'm done. Like I need to be done with this. I hate it. And he's like, all right, so I want you to put your 2 weeks notice in on Monday. And that box of phones that you have, I want you to start selling those and don't stop until I tell you to. And a little backdrop to that, when I'd moved to Nashville, my previous wife, we had moved there so that she could go to audio engineering school. We went from 2 incomes to 1, and I'm like, I need extra money. So I'm like, I've hustled before. So like I started selling stuff on eBay, just odds and ends around the house. Whatever I could find. We went to Goodwill one day, and then I just started buying women's jeans. Just any jeans I could find. In Nashville, there's like, 20 something thrift stores on my day off. I would go and hit up all the thrift stores, buy all the women's jeans I could, that's all I knew at that time. And I was, making a good amount of money doing that, but it was a lot of work. And then I was in Goodwill one day, and I heard an advertisement for shopgoodwill.com. And that's where a lot of the good stuff goes. Granted, you pay more for it. And so I come across them, and they had like a depot in Nashville where you can buy stuff online and then you can drive and pick it up. So I'd started there. I'd bought some old flip phones. This was, I don't know, 6-7 years ago. And so when I got promoted to general manager, I didn't have to do that anymore, but I still had all those phones. I'm like, phones I could list very easily. I don't have to take the measurements of the rise and all that stuff with jeans, because women's jeans are very particular if you had sold them. So whenever I was praying and God said, quit your job and I want you to start selling those phones, I had probably 100 or so phones on hand. And he said, sell that box of phones. I want you to find a motor home to live in, because I was moving out of a house that was really more than what I could afford. So that was on Friday. On Monday morning, I went and put in my 2 weeks notice. I said, I'm done. I'm being crazy. I'm just stepping out, and I'm going to start selling these box of phones and keep selling them. And then that afternoon, I had a friend call me, and it's actually my ex-wife's uncle. He called me and said, come see me when you get off of work. And I'm like, okay. So I got off of work. I got out there. It's like 7 o'clock at night. And he has this 26-foot Winnebago sitting there. And he gives me the keys, signs over the title, and I don't know. He's like, I was praying yesterday and God told me to give you this Winnebago. So I'm like, man, that's crazy. I'm like, you just told me on Friday to find a Winnebago, and I didn't even look. Like, you found me one, and it found me. And so I moved out of my house, and I just started selling phones. Just started, flipping phones out of the motor home. And it's like kind of crazy. Like at that time, my goal was to do $85 a day in sales. If I can do $85 a day in sales, that paid for all that I needed. And that just started this progression. A year later, Jessica and I, we met, we got married very quickly. I had, we got married. I think it was 3 months after we met. But the crazy thing is I had dreams about this purple-headed girl for probably 6 or 7 months before I ever met her. And just purple hair, just this purple-headed girl. It was just crazy. It was totally a God thing. And then when I met her, she didn't even have, I don't know if she had purple hair. We started going to the same church, and I'm done with women, I'm like, I don't even know why I keep having this dream of this purple-headed girl. But I just did. And then just one day I got invited over to her house, and with mutual friends, and she started sharing her story. I'm like, oh my God, like this is the girl like that I've been dreaming about for the last 6 months. I'm like, this is crazy. So like God had told me, just like in my journals and stuff, like months before, he's like, when I tell you to, I want you to, because he would tell me about this person, about Jessica, before I ever met her. So I knew things about her before I ever met her. But he had said in my journal one day, I was just writing, and he's like, I want you to buy flowers, these specific kinds of flowers, when I tell you to, and I want you to send them to this purple-headed girl. So I met Jessica, and then like her birthday was like on that Friday that I met her on Sunday. Like I met her, like I realized, then her birthday was on Friday. So like I sent her this flowers, and then it was like, I don't know, a week later, we were already talking about getting married. And then we got married, 3 months later, here we are. Has it been 5 years? 4 years? We don't even know. It's like, it happened so quick. But it's been, hello. I was reading comments. I was like, I'm getting a gift. So, but yeah, that was just a progression. We started reselling as a family, very early on. We kind of discovered our whys. Like we only had Jolene at that time. And, but we knew very early on that we wanted to homeschool, and that this lifestyle would provide a way for us to A, have a business, but also B, to be able to provide an environment for our kids that they can be a part of our life with us. I had worked in the corporate world, in the restaurant world, 60, 70, 80, 100-hour weeks. sacrificed a former marriage because of work. I'm a millennial. I'm like a Gen X millennial. All of us we're a little bit older, Generation X, where there's a lot of different mindsets. I believe Gen X and really even baby boomers, to a large degree, they sacrificed their families at the pursuit of business for the pursuit of money. That it was always this house, this car, all these things that they're trying to provide for their families and for their kids. But their kids really didn't. As a kid, you don't even want all that stuff. Like, you just want your mom and dad. You just want to be close and to know your kids, to know your parents. It's like very early on, we decided like that is the lifestyle that we want to live. And even like last year, we grew so big that we had started sacrificing our family for the pursuit of business. And we're like, this is not what we want. So, we scaled down, we closed our warehouse down, we laid off employees, which was extremely difficult, but it didn't match up to our why, which was family. Like, we want to provide a good living, but at the same time, like, we want family first. So that was a lot of rabbit trails, and I hope I answered your question, but I also gave you a lot more information.
So you actually gave me more questions just from.
Yeah.
So I have to know, because I don't know if you know anything about my backstory, but I got into full-time reselling because I'm actually a pastor and my church closed. And God gave me this gift of reselling as a means to kind of feed my family so that I could serve him for free. But I'm curious how you came to know the Lord. What's your testimony, man?
I probably, when I was young, my mom took us to church a little bit here and there. Not a whole lot. I was probably 29. Was that 29? I'm getting old, I used to, I have problems filling in gaps of time. But it was probably, I was 29, I believe. I'd actually, my former life, I was a crazy dude. I drank a lot, gambled a lot. And I'd done some stuff at one of my jobs, had got let go from it, and was at a really, it was like my dream job. Growing up, I always wanted to make $100,000 a year before I reached the age of 30. So like 29, I'd got promoted, or I didn't get promoted. I got a job where I was I pretty much ran a company, a local casual dining pizza chain that had 12 restaurants, and I had over 500 employees, 60 different managers that I was over. And I was like, this is the life. But with a lot more money came a lot more access to alcohol and all kinds of stuff. And I was young and single, did some stupid stuff, got let go. It's like I was at a very low point of my life. It was crazy. I was maxing out credit cards to go to the casino to get money. It was rough. And I guess during that time, I had a couple of roommates, and one of them started dating this girl, and she went to church. So I started going to church with her, and that's how I had met my ex-wife was through that. We went to church, and I was very religious at that time. Very adherent to the law. And rules and regulations about what you can't do. It made me very critical of people, very judgmental of people, not really showing people Jesus, but showing them really a Pharisee or a Sadducee. But through that, God gave me grace. I got saved. I got saved. I gave my life to Jesus because we can't come to the Lord without him at least first coming to us first. So I did all that and living a good life, but still just something missing. You think you're living a Christian life. I mean, especially according to Western culture, you do good things, you go to church, you tithe, but then you're still left empty. And that's really just because, I was serving the law instead of serving Jesus. And then I don't know the progression. It's just I knew him. I'd been baptized. I was what we'd call on fire for God, but still, my God at the end, it still wasn't. It still wasn't God. It was the pursuit after a job, and it wasn't even that. It was very early on in life. We all learn ways to cope with pain, with hurts, or to even avoid pain and hurts. So mine was work. Um, and so it's like, God took me out of a church that was very dogmatic in a lot of ways. Didn't really wasn't what we call spirit filled, or the presence of the Holy Spirit. Very much, a lot of rules. So I moved to Nashville. Didn't really go to church a lot there, just because I worked all the time. I came back and I was like, man, I was crazy. I was addicted to this game on my phone when I came back from Nashville. It's called King's Empire, and it was crazy. I'm making like $150,000 a year at Cracker Barrel, but like for 4 hours a day, I was playing a game while I was at work. Like during busy shifts, I was in the bathroom playing this game. And I'm like, man, this is crazy. Like I'm addicted to this game. Like I can't escape it. It used to be drinking, and now it's this game. So I came back, and like it was like a Wednesday night, and like I'm done with this game. Like I can't do it no more. Like I can't do this. And I deleted the game, and like it was done. I don't know what God did, but just that addictive nature was just gone in an instant. During that time, like my wife, we're going through that divorce, and I guess really a big turning point in my life was then, because I'm like, I've got this job I hate. My ex-wife, she doesn't want to be married to me. What am I going to do? So like I think it was the month of June. It was like June the 15th, June the 16th. I'm like, I'm just going to pursue after God the next 14 days as hard as I can, and just do everything for God and just focus on Him. So I fasted for 14 days, the last 14 days of June. I did a water only fast for 14 days. And I came out of that with just a renewed mindset, just a totally different way of looking at life. And that led, I went to ministry school. Both my wife and I were both ordained ministers. I taught at a church. Like we ran a ministry school for almost 2 years at a church that we were part of, and really teaching all those things, teaching about family first. And, how really, God is a generational God, is a legacy. He's the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. So it's like a generational type thing where it's like, in the end of Malachi, it says the spirit of Elijah would come and turn the hearts of fathers towards their children, and the children towards their fathers. It's like, it's the generational thing. So it's something that we're very passionate about, that we try to incorporate our family in all that we do. And that's a big part of our why.
It's awesome, man. I always love hearing people's backstories and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Really
and the same thing. I mean, Jessica, she's got an amazing testimony of God intervening in her life. And, our kids, they have dreams about Jesus. They tell us, God will tell them things that are going to happen in our life, and they happen. So it's awesome.
It's great.
And now we have crickets.
Okay, so let's get into a little bit of what you actually do now. You started with box of cell phones, and now you're doing pallets by multi-quantity.
Yeah. Yeah, and we still do phones. We come from that belief, is really building categories of building stores. A lot of people, they have a very diverse or very wide scope of what they sell, which, Walmart does that, Target does that. I mean, every business does it, just because the wider you cast your net, the more likelihood you are to get sales. But, we do that and when we buy pallets, but we've set it up to where, our money, like the money that we make from selling like cell phones, it fuels our business. And I'm not talking about buying iPhones for $100 and then selling it for, $150. That's a very successful model. A lot of people do it, but that's very contingent upon, where you live. If you live in a very populated area, We tried that here; it didn't work. So we did that, and then we started building. You know, when we scaled last year is when we started buying the pallets, and we saw the tremendous opportunity with profitability when it comes to pallets. Plus, like I don't like thrifting. I don't like going to garage sales, and part of it's like I don't know a lot about it. So like for me to have to take the time to learn all of that, it's very I don't have the patience for it. I would rather just buy a bunch of stuff in bulk, have it come to me, and then use that time to be more efficient listing or buying better product in bulk. So we started buying the pallets, truckloads of it, and it was awesome. Like there's so much amazing stuff that you can get from it, so much junk you can get from it at the same time. But it's kind of like we've built the cell phone business, and now we're really in the process of kind of rebuilding the pallet business, but more strategic. Before, we would just buy any pallet. We bought a lot of what's called the Amazon medium box pallet, where it's very diverse. It's a lot of general merchandise, anything from kitchen sinks to toilets to tents and canopies to paintings. I mean, it's just so much stuff that you can get from those, but it's a very wide variety of stuff. So I mean, the sell-through rate, is usually about 50% for those items, but you have to have a lot of space for those types of pallets. It's not something that you could do that. I mean, if you could sell it faster, then you can do it, but you've got to have storage space for it. Unless you do Amazon FBA, which there's ways that you can do that also to ship it to them. And you guys know about the Amazon FBA, but there's lots of people who have made very successful Amazon businesses based around that principle.
Sure.
So to get into like somebody like myself, I'm very interested. And if I wanted to start buying in like the liquidation, what on a limited budget, what would be like 3 things that you would say would be the most important thing to look at when you're just taking that first step?
I mean, the items, like what kind of items are they? Do you have some experience already with those types of items? Like you're going to want to be very strategic in what you purchase. That I would probably start off with a lot, spend a couple $100. Granted, for a lot, I think a big reason why a lot of, resellers are skeptical to get into it is because they don't traditionally have a lot of money. Like they're resellers for a reason. They start off as a way to make extra money. And it's I mean, America as a whole is very limited on how much money they have to use to build their businesses. But I would say, the strategic with what you're going to buy, you're going to have to know the condition. Like is it a shelf pull? Is it a customer return? Is it salvage? All those types of things you're going to need to know. And then really like, where is it coming from? If you are able to go to a local place and actually look at the items physically, then that's probably going to be your best bet. But if not, there's some good places. Like there's good money-making opportunities that you can get from liquidation, from bulk, from VIA trading if you live out on the West Coast, from B-Stock. All those places, they have great potential, but your margins are going to be smaller, but there's still great opportunity to purchase from those places. Okay. But it's you've got to be willing to make the investment. And I understand that like the average American only has like $600 to their name, like $600 in savings. And that's crazy because there's a lot of rich people out there. So like the majority of people, like they're really living paycheck to paycheck. So you don't really have a lot of money. And it's very hard for resellers to shift the mindset that, yeah, I can go to Goodwill or I can go to the bins or I can go to the thrift store, I can go to garage sale and I can buy these items. I could spend $100 and I can turn it into $1,000. And that's absolutely true that you could do that. But I would say, like, all in all, like, how's it working out for everyone that does it? There are some people who are successful, but all in all, like, is money still tight? I think there's, a lot more that can go into that with habits, with, mindsets. All those things will help you be a better reseller. But when it comes to sourcing pallets, like, you have the product, it comes to you. You don't have to spend 8 hours to do all that stuff. It comes to you, and you can do a better job of listing it and all those things.
Now I'm seeing, like, with your one-off flipping, where you're outgoing and sourcing flea markets, and just that's where your highest ROI is, but it's also the most time consuming. And then you have the total other end of the spectrum, which is people's retail arbitrage for Amazon FBA, which takes less time, a much lower ROI, and it's more of a speed game, a velocity of selling game. And where does liquidation fall? It sounds like it comes in between those two somewhere, but does it favor more towards one than the other?
I mean, you're going to get, it really depends on the lot that you purchase and the type of item that you purchase and when you purchase it. That there are some items that you can sell very, very quick. Like, we got a box of printer ink and gaming headsets, and it had a bunch of other stuff, and a lot of that sold within a week or two. So, like, that's a very quick sell through. That's like, 150, 200% sell through rate. Whereas there's some stuff that it may sit on the shelf for a couple of months. And granted, I've still got some stuff in our, or on our shelves that we've had for probably 8 or 9 months. And probably even, I think it's been a little over a year now since we finished our first truckload. But, like, I don't think I have anything a year old that we've bought from pallets. Like, everything, the first pallets that we purchased, everything is gone. The first truckload, we have a few items that have that we still have left, and that's not because the items are bad. It's because some of those items, they hadn't even been listed the whole time. Like, I've still got stuff in my storage unit that it's kind of like, you typically you do the easy stuff that's going to make you the most money, and then you get these death piles of stuff. Well, I've got, like, a big, death pile storage unit. It's got all kinds of stuff in there, but there's like $400 or $500 items in there, but it's not fun to list. I'd rather do this other stuff, but it's in my routine now to start getting some of that listed, so it's not just money just sitting there. So I'd say that liquidation, depending on what you purchase, you can purchase things that have a very quick sell-through rate, and then you can purchase things that have a very slow. It's like we're getting ready to do. I bought which you can see these right here, right there. That's a lot of tablets. I bought 134 salvage tablets, which I know they're not salvaged because I bought from this place before. I haven't bought from this individual seller, but I bought from this platform. I've bought tablets before. I've bought them from their Walmart tablets. Like, I bought thousands of them, and those 3 boxes, the majority of those will probably sell in the next 2 to 3 weeks. But it was very strategic. Like, I know that they sell quickly. So it really depends on how you're sourcing, and does your strategy line up with what you're wanting. If you don't have a lot of money to invest, you're probably going to want to look after something that sells very quickly. And if that's you, then I would look at the manifest, see what's on the manifest, look up the more expensive items, look on eBay sold, see how quickly they're selling. If you're finding something that is being sold more than listed, then that's obviously something that you can get, but you can sell it very, very quickly. And then use that and just sell those items quick and get your money back, and then use it to go do something else.
Okay. We had a question here from Reseller King. How do you get rid of the stuff that's not worth listing? Because I imagine when you buy, even if you're going through and buying a manifest of this, there's still things that either come damaged or just come in.
That question I had too, so I'm glad he asked that.
Yeah, a lot of it, really depends on what it is. It can be sold for parts. You know, if it's appliances, electronic items, stuff like that, you can sell it for parts. We've sold lots of items that way. Some of it's just going to go in the trash because it's just part of it. You're going to get some broken stuff. It's like we bought a couple of pallets from liquidation.com, and we got a water bed. It was a box of shelf. It was a pallet of shelf pools. So we knew it wasn't customer returns, and it wouldn't be violated that way. But a giant waterbed mattress, a $300, maybe not $300, it was $249, and then I think on Amazon they charged some shipping, so it was close to $300. But it had a hole in it because something had hit the side of it, and it had a big old hole of it. Obviously, you could probably patch that. You could sell it to somebody, but like for me, I just threw it away because I didn't want to have to spend the time to do it. But you're going to get waste. You're going to get stuff that's junk, and you can either take it, donate it. If it maybe conditionally it still works, but it's just not what you want, or just throw it away. It's just you're going to have to get in the mindset and know that I'm expecting to have some of this that's going to be garbage, and it's going to have to go into the trash can. But you learn very early on that you try to sell as much of it as you can for parts, or even we've gotten lots of different items that have been broken, like mirrors, that the frame would be amazing, but the mirror is broken. Or we've got this, a real nice, they go in the bathroom, they go inside of the wall, and the mirror pops open. We got one of those that the mirror was broken, but I sold it for like $50 because it was a $300 unit that you could very easily replace the mirror. So there's ways that you can get creative to sell it. So you're not just throwing money away, but just know that you're going to have stuff that's going to be garbage.
You had a couple questions for him.
I did. What is your favorite part of what you do? Like, what's your all-time favorite thing about what you do?
Of reselling or pallets or both? Pallets. I think it's the potential. Like you never really know what you're gonna get. Like you have an idea, especially if you see pictures or you see the manifest. But at the end of the day, like you don't have an idea of what you're gonna get. So it's like it's extreme. You get those very big dopamine hits whenever you get something that you really want. Like you get excited. It's like we had a pallet where we had gotten two twin size latex organic mattresses. They're like $250 a piece that we had no idea that were on the pallet because they were at the bottom. So like that part's very exciting, but it's also, it's like I love puzzles. I love fixing things and trying to figure things out. So for me, it's like, with pallets, it's a continual state of learning that you're always going to be learning and collecting data so that you can make better decisions. And I'm a very analytical person. So having all that, the data and knowing, like when I buy these pallets, I can expect this amount of waste, or when I buy from this, like I can expect this. And it's like, 10% of items that are sold like on eBay are over $100. So with that also being said, is that 30% of items that are sold on eBay are $10 and under, and then another 30% are under $20. So like you've got 60% of all items that are sold on eBay are under $20. So like the vast majority is things that are $30 and under. But the same thing holds true to these pallets, that I know that there's a certain percentage of items that are going to be on here that are going to be over $100. They're going to be a certain percentage that are going to be under this amount. So just for me, I love learning. I love those things. It's a challenge. It's always learning, always finding out new information. But I really say just the most important thing is it's exciting unboxing things that you didn't know were in there. Like it's a lot of fun.
So it's like a treasure hunt.
It is. And if you like that, I mean, if you love going to thrift stores and you love going to garage sales and finding that item, you can still get that same chemical reaction in your brain from buying pallets or buying small lots. Like it's the same reaction. That's why there's all these, that's why there's so many unboxing videos on eBay that have, or on YouTube that have 6 and 7 million views. That's why also at the same time, there's all these kid channels that are showing kids opening up toys and all these people going to storage units. It's the same chemical reaction. It's why, you know, a lot of resellers do it, is because of that dopamine release that your brain gives you when you find those items. It's about the potential. It's about the hunt. It's still the same with pallet flipping. It's still that exact same chemical reaction.
Dino Max asking you, do you estimate a percentage of the pallet that will be garbage before you make the purchase?
Yes. Depending on where they come from, like which, if they were a .com purchase, like usually like Walmart.com or Target.com, meaning .com, like it was purchased from their website.
Mm-hmm.
Those generally have a lower likelihood of being garbage, just because online sales for those people, they're not abused like in-store. In-store Walmart, like they have a very high likelihood of being damaged. And then even like with Amazon Medium Box, when we were purchasing those, that usually 10% of the pallet was going to be garbage. And then usually about another 25% was going to be used items that could be sold, but they definitely couldn't be sold as new, or they, had, maybe a broken piece here, but you could still sell it. And then for those, generally about 60% of the pallet, you could sell it as like new other. Because, for me, I'm not going to sell something as on eBay. You can sell it as new, but you open yourself at the same time to likelihood or the opportunity for a lawsuit, because when you're saying it's new, you're saying it's kind of like the chain of custody hasn't been broken. Whereas a lot of times it's been open. Granted, if the item is brand new and open on eBay, you have a less likelihood of having any issues. But if the box has been open, just sell it as new other or open box. But with those pallets, about 60% of those pallets would be new other or open box items. And then with it really depends on the pallet. I'm not, everyone, you would have to really do some research and kind of learn. That's the thing about it is it's a learning thing. Like you have to have money to learn. You have to have money to invest. And it's like this is like it's a risk, but the more that you do it, the more you learn, so that you can actually have a calculated risk instead of just a blind thing.
So I have a 2-part question for you. If you're looking to get your first pallet, or pallets, how much money should you have that you should expect to be putting towards that first purchase? And is there a reputable online source that you would suggest somebody that's never done this to go to, like whether it's like Bulks or Liquidation or Walmart, or like what would you say would be like the safest, like best quality bet for somebody that's never done this?
I'd probably say, $1,000. If you're wanting to buy 2 pallets, you probably need to have $1,000.
Okay.
You can probably, and that's because of shipping, it's really, and especially if you're having it delivered to residential, like you're going to pay $80 in a lift gate and a residential fee on the cheap end. Like you may even pay $120 depending on who the carrier is, that's going to bring it to you. It's like if you spend $1,000 and just those 2 fees is $120, that's over 10% of the total purchase is just in lift gate fee and residential fee. But if you're able to go somewhere, you can buy a lot of, you can buy a small lot that may have 100 items in it from like bulk.com. They offer, small lots. The great thing about bulk is most of their almost all of their pallets or lots are they have manifest.
Mm-hmm.
So like if something is not right, when I say not right, meaning that they have an item that, like, say it's supposed to be this phone, like on the manifest, it's got Motorola phone, but then you get it in and it's actually, this bottle because they accidentally labeled it wrong. Well, bulk will give you credit for it. Like they're going to make it right. It's the same thing with like B stock. B stock will granted, like B stock is kind of like an eBay for liquidators. It's up to each individual liquidator, but at the same time, they have an insurance adjuster or an insurance person for B stock that actually handles the case for you. So they're kind of like the go-between between you and the seller to make sure that the seller is treating you fairly. It's like we had we bought a lot of Fitbits a while back. We bought like I don't know 50 Fitbits from B stock from I don't remember who the individual seller was, and but they provided 2 pictures for it. I'm like, well, we hadn't bought these before. I know that doing research, these sell extremely fast. Like we can buy this box of Fitbits for like $500, and then we could sell it in a week because they were just selling that fast. And the 2 pictures they provided, that it looked like every single one of them had a box, and it also looked like every single one of them was in great condition, like it wasn't even used. But then we get it in, and like over half of them were either cracked or didn't even have bands or didn't even have a box. And I'm like, you are extremely misleading. Like I opened up a case, and like you were purposely misleading your buyers. Like there's no, like, you strategically chose those items and pictured those items to purposely deceive people. And they ultimately they did give me a credit on it, and I was like, it was good, but those places, they will, if it's like a local place, they're probably not going to give you any credit. Like it's these larger places who do it. Like they're going to work with you, in my experience, to get your money back, because they do want customers. They're not just trying to sell something to one person and be done. It's very expensive to acquire new business, but it's very cheap to keep. Once people keep buying, to keep them buying from you. So a lot of those places like Bulk, they have that policy, liquidation.com, B stock, they all have similar policies where they will take care of you, but you need to provide evidence at the same time.
I have 2 questions.
Yep.
One being, I do a lot of Amazon. Is there any reputable places to get liquidation that I would be able to sell on Amazon, like that Amazon is approved to go through?
Like you wanted to know if it's going to be safe to sell on Amazon,
Right.
I don't know if anything really is safe to sell on Amazon unless you do wholesale. Like there's still extreme risk with selling really anything on Amazon, just because you're one item away from that original brand owner claiming that it's counterfeit. Granted, I'm not trying to scare you, but as far as safe, the safest would be buying wholesale from the manufacturer or from their distributor. There are lots of items that you can, like if we were given the opportunity to sell on Amazon again, we would. But we would do it like there's certain products, there's certain things that we wouldn't even try to sell. It's like if you're buying liquidated goods, like, with Amazon, that, I don't know, 30-40% of Amazon sellers are from China. So a lot of the goods that you get are from China, or they're made in China, and they're from people here in America who have created their own brands. All those are very risky. So you kind of learn there's different Facebook groups that you can get in that they put together a list of brands to not sell on Amazon.
Right.
Like I know Wholesale Ninjas, they're fairly new. I think they've been open for about a year. We haven't purchased anything from them yet. We are going to be doing some purchases from them here very soon. They have lots of manifested items that I know they used to sell on Amazon, but they found they can make a lot more money by selling to people who sell on Amazon than them doing it themselves. But I know they have lots of items that come from Amazon that you could sell on Amazon, but what condition you sell it on, like it's really up to you. And then at the same time, if you are going to sell these items on Amazon, you're going to want to make sure that it's manifested items. The reason being is because if it is manifested, you can at least prove where it came from. And I don't sell any of these items that are liquidated in new condition. You've got to sell them in used condition. But then at least if you do that, they are in a manifest, and if you ever get suspended and you have to come up with a plan of action for them, you at least have the manifest to say that I purchased it from bulk.com or I purchased it from Wholesale Ninjas. So that way there is a paper trail that will help you when you are filing your dispute. Granted, I think, with those, as long as you have an invoice showing that you purchased it from somewhere, you still have about a 75% success rate of appealing that versus like a 60% success rate of a successful appeal if you don't have an invoice, really depending upon the seriousness of the allegation that Amazon has made against you.
Yeah, I've heard that there is some type of liquidation that like Amazon, like a company or companies that Amazon would allow some of us to use or whatever, but I haven't found that yet.
Amazon's so sketchy though. Like they really don't care. It's like they don't want, like Amazon is the most strictest liquid, like I don't even know what to call them. Like they're the most restrictive business as far as when they liquidate goods. They almost don't even want people to know that they're liquidating goods and that they're available for sale, because like they can't even, like the people who sell Amazon pallets or truckloads, like they can't show pictures. They can't say that it came from Amazon. They can't do a whole lot of stuff because Amazon is so restrictive.
Right.
So it's like Amazon, they try to play these back channels and stuff. But that's just, my opinion of Amazon. A lot of people, there's a lot of successful people who do Amazon. Granted, mine is distorted just because of my own personal experience with Amazon.
Okay. Tiffany, Eat Sleep Amazon is asking, how many hours per week would you say that you work your business?
With my new schedule, eBay, I'm dedicated 25 hours a week to eBay. And then Jessica, I think hers is probably around 25 hours a week to eBay. So, 50 hours total for the two of us. Granted, we've got a full-time helper. We've got a virtual assistant who lists about 100 to 150 items a week for us, which we're trying to get them more stuff to do. So we're trying to source more items. But to answer the question, I work about 25 hours a week on eBay, and Jessica does about the same thing.
My other question that I had was, like, me and Anthony are talking about doing liquidation. Mainly, I probably would do it for eBay. I probably wouldn't do it on Amazon for the reasons that you said, and just to be safe. I have a warehouse and a dock, that I have access to, so I'm able to have a little bit cheaper rates. I've looked on bulk and a couple other websites. I noticed the shipping is very high. Sometimes it'll be almost the same amount as the pallets. Is there a company, or would some of these companies allow you to set up your own trucking? And if I was to buy pallets, what's usually the best amount of pallets to buy to get it like a nice break on shipping, where it's not, it's $200 a pallet, or maybe I'll pay $100 a piece, or whatever.
Let me hold that. I need to plug my computer in real quick so it doesn't die. Give me like 30 seconds. I'll be right back.
Sure. Yeah, like the shipping is always a big amount that I always see that, like, y'all find something and it's like, wow, that'd be great, and then next it's like the shipping like eats up the profit that I would have made or whatever. So it's almost like, to me, some of the liquidation on the sites, unless you find that that certain lot that just goes really fast, that's really good. If I'm able to get that shipping down, it would make it more worthwhile to purchase.
Yeah, especially with us too, because we're residential. We don't have like access to a dock or anything, so we also have to pay the lift gate service on top of it.
Yeah, like I have a plate that goes on the truck, pallet jacks, the whole 9 yards to make it a real easy, smooth process if we were to do this or whatever. So, it's always been something I wanted to look into and do, because I have this setup that I do, and like he was saying, that the shipping cost should be cheaper because I don't need a lift gate.
Yeah.
So I would say you need to find if you're going to purchase from like one of the big online ones, is you are going to want to find a distribution center that's closest to you. That on all those websites they have on there that places locations that you can select, and that you're going to want to do those, because obviously the further you are away, like it's going to be expensive. Like I can get I'm about 5.5 hours from Dallas. If I purchased from liquidation.com and they have the distribution center in Dallas, it'll cost me maybe $200 to get 2 pallets shipped from them. But then, for instance, I bought a pallet of tools from a distributor in not liquidation.com. This was wholesale1.net. I purchased a pallet of tools, and it cost $268 just for 1 pallet of tools, and it came from a little over 7 hours away in Nashville. And then, like Direct Liquidation, they have a place that they sell Walmart pallets out of in Bentonville, which is about 2.5 hours, and it cost me like $300 for 2 pallets, but they were a little bit bigger. But I would say just find some place that's closest to you, so that you don't have to pay as much mileage for those pallets. Yes, you can arrange your own shipping. There's like U-Freight that you can do. I forget the one that I used because I just called the lady and I'm like, hey, I've got these pallets. These are the dimensions. What is it going to charge? But there's different brokerage places that you can find that you can use for those pallets to get them shipped. But I'd say if you're going to purchase pallets and you're going to have to pay for shipping, you're probably going to want to get, probably at least 2. Best bet would probably 3 or 4, just because of how much it will save you when it comes time to ship. And that's like, why we moved into the warehouse last year is when we were buying those Amazon medium box pallets that we were paying $500 per pallet, which was a good deal. But then for each pallet, we were having to pay $250 for each pallet, just because they're like huge 9-foot pallets that weigh like 800-900 pounds. And it was expensive. Whereas I had a whole truckload of those delivered for $1,100. So the savings on that's ridiculous. I mean, if we'd have bought them all individually, that would have cost, that would have been like $5,000 to ship 24 pallets individually. So it was like but then we got a discount on top of that when we did purchase a truckload, because we got a whole truckload for $8,500. So we spent $9,600 for that particular truckload with shipping. So that's like, $400 something per pallet. But if you don't have the space, then obviously, 2, 3, 4 pallets to take advantage of it would be the most that you'd want to purchase, or the least amount. But that's why you go with lots. Like Wholesale Ninjas, a great thing about Wholesale Ninjas is the margins would be lower, but they can actually break the pallet. Like they each pallet will have like 4 boxes, but they can ship those boxes individually. Like they don't have to ship the whole pallet. But then also with Wholesale Ninjas is that it's a $30 one-time shipping fee. So if you ordered 5 boxes from them, it's only going to cost you $30, versus somewhere else it's going to cost you like $70-$80 per box.
Yeah, I might have to check them out. A lot of the I think Bulk was the one I was looking at,
and they're $200 flat rate, which is
they don't have it so you could set up your own shipping.
No,
like for me, I even have access to a truck that has a lift gate and everything too. So if I'm able to go pick up these pallets, I'm able to pick up to 8 skids or 8 pallets at a time, and that's why I'm so interested in doing it. And I have the warehouse space and everything, and just basically finding the right lot and like you were saying about financials. For me, financials is a little, I'm not in as low as you were saying, but it's tied up a lot in the Amazon, and but I would love to dive into some liquidation.
Yeah, I mean you can buy pallets of books too. Like,
right.
I forget who it was. Somebody I seen had a video. They bought a whole truckload of books, like 66,000 pounds of books or something.
Yeah.
And you can buy those for pretty cheap. You can buy a pallet of books for like $300 and have it delivered to you.
I know, Joe, last night you said that you had roughly about an hour, and I don't want to hold you back
Yeah.
from what you need to accomplish. Do you have
Yeah, if we've got some more questions, I'm fine with that.
Okay. Just wanted to make sure we weren't keeping you from doing what you need to get done. I know Destiny's got a couple more written here, and if anybody's got questions in chat, just put them in and we'll try to get them addressed.
Oh, so ask me questions. Okay, what was the best buy you've had, and what was your worst buy you've ever had?
I'm trying to think. I recently we've got an unboxing video. I don't know if that's the worst buy. I wouldn't say that. Probably the worst buy is the first pallet that we ever purchased. Is I went on to liquidation.com, got a pallet. I think we spent $300 for it, and I'd bought it for Instapots. It had like four Instapots on it. It was a manifested pallet. I'm like, sweet, these are selling for like $120. And very new, didn't really look at the condition. I'm like, it's salvage. They're all salvage. Like, it's returns, duh. And we got it in, and every single one of them. Jolene, sorry, I got confused. Jolene is saying hi with our thing. But every single one of them was broken. Like, there was so much broken stuff on this pallet. Hi, Jolene. You said hi. I shouldn't be rude. I should say hi back. And but every single one of them was broken. I think like 80% of that pallet was broken junk. It sucked. Like, I was so mad. Most of it, I just gave it away because I'm like, I don't like the stuff that was working or like was used or, maybe you had to modify it. Like, I gave almost all the way through the rest of the way. I did keep these real nice stainless steel pot and pans. It was missing one lid. Somebody, whoever bought it, they didn't obviously know how to cook with those stainless steel pans, because there was one pan that they had cooked in that they cook it on way too high of heat, because most cheap pans, they don't hold heat very well. So they get very hot. The really good pans, they get very, very hot. So like what you'd normally cook like a Teflon pan on high, in these pans, you probably want to cook in like low to medium heat. But whatever they cooked in it got stuck to the bottom. They said, I cleaned it up and used it. They're awesome pot and pans, but it was a nasty mess. That was probably the worst pallet that we'd ever got, was that first one. And we've had some others mixed in, like in truckloads of stuff. One pallet comes to mind, and it sucked. It was horrible pallet. On the same pallet, it hadn't been going very well. There's a lot of stuff that was broken on it. And then we got to the end of it, and there was a couple of items that I'm like, man, we might actually be able to make some money on this pallet. And there was like I made lots of mistakes of looking at the prices of items before actually opening the box. This was one of those. And I seen a box. It was for some Shark vacuum cleaner. It was like a $300-something vacuum cleaner. And I'm like, sweet, if this is even working, I can get at least $150 for it. But then I go to pick up the box, and there wasn't even anything in there. They had sent back an empty box. And I'm like, I'm furious at this point. And then like the next box was like some diaper genie thing. Like, you put used diapers in and it keeps the smell out. It was supposed to be like $150 diaper genie thing, like really nice top of the line thing. But inside, somebody had put their $30 used nasty diaper thing that had crusty, nasty diarrhea stuff all over it. I'm like, that sucks. But we've had some really good ones. We've had some pallets that have had like, I think the most expensive item we ever got off of a pallet was like an $800 under the counter ice machine maker. We've gotten several sinks. We've got like I've got like a $500 toilet sitting in my storage unit because it's so big. But it's a $500 toilet. And granted, if I listed on Facebook, I'd probably sell it. I looked at selling it online, but shipping for that thing was going to be like $180. I'm like, I'm not selling it online. And then one time we got a used sex doll, which was gross.
Oh.
Yeah. It was kind of funny. You know, my mom was helping at that time, and she opened this box, and she's like, "Oh my God." And you go there, and it's like some little bitty. It was very, in the end, it was very depressing. It led me down. I'll tell you about it. But it was a big boob, like sex doll thing, and it had some hairs on it that didn't belong to the doll. Hairs. And it was like a $700 sex doll, and I put it on one of the Facebook groups, and like 90% of the people were like, "You should sell it, sell it, sell it." I'm like, "No, like there's no telling what is going to be inside of that thing."
That's a venture, I guess.
And, but then it led into this really depressing thing with the sex doll industry. Is they make a lot of these that look like little girls, like 10-year-old girls, which was very depressing and disheartening. I'm like, man, this sucks. Like, you know, I mean, it sucked. But that was really, that was disheartening. But we've lots of like 3D printers. We've gotten lots of 3D printers off of them. Those always sell really well. So it's a lot. I mean, there's just so many that I can't even think about. Several $100 items, $400 or $500 items, and there's too many to even really think about right now.
Peddling Profits asks, have you ever considered selling pallets to other resellers or to the public, as many do in local Facebook groups, for like your overstock or things that you feel it isn't worth you personally listing it?
I have, but like if I have the infrastructure set up to break down those pallets and sell them individually myself, I make a lot more money. Because like if you like, it's really only going to be worth doing that if you can get a direct contract with the like with Walmart or Target or Amazon. But then you're going to have to spend like 50, 60 grand a month at least. Because if you like if I was to buy like a truckload of Amazon medium box pallets for $400 a piece, $500 a piece. I don't know what they go for now because they've changed that program up. With 24 of those, and that's $8,000. Just it's probably not the right math, but we're just going to use that. But I may only be able to mark that up 33%. Like I may be able to sell it locally for $550 or $600, because if it's much more, then they can go directly to the other people that do sell them, and they can have them shipped to them for that same price. But then there's just lots of different things you have to do that. And I'm like, I thought about it, but it's just, you can make, those, especially when you're buying by the truckload, you can make easily 6, 7, 8 times your money by breaking the pallets down and sell them yourselves. So it wouldn't really, it would have to be a space issue. Like if I had a contract and I had to order so many and I was running out of space, I would do that. But even being here in Arkansas, where there's only 2.5 million people, like there are lots of other places that are going to be closer to highly congested residential areas where people are that would purchase them, that it would be cheaper to buy from those just because of the cost of shipping.
Yeah, I mean, like basically doing a contract to fulfill like a half a truck or a whole truck would be the direct shot, would be the best way for you to do that.
Yeah.
And I mean, like you said, sometimes the shipping is what kills it. For me, originally coming from the manufacturer. So if you got it in, you paid shipping, and then had to put shipping and some margin on top of that. I mean, it just wouldn't make sense for the most part, unless you really, like you said, you really busted it down or did a direct shot to somebody.
It would have to be really a volume game. I mean, you'd have to sell like a truckload a day.
Yeah.
And if you're making, $150 per pallet, you make, $3,000 in one day. That's good money, but you could also probably break those down if you had the infrastructure set up to do it, and you could, do that and actually make, $50,000 in one day if you had the infrastructure set up for it.
Yeah, that goes along with some of the stuff I was talking with Anthony, just having buying power. And if you did have a contract like that, then you would need other people to or possibly need other people depending on your space and how your inventory is to kind of toss those trucks to, because you can get pretty buried in with trucks if you don't move the product fast enough or have the space for it. So
Yep.
yeah, that'd be pretty awesome getting, just tons of trucks from like Walmart or Amazon or whatever the case may be, and just having that huge flow of product at probably be a pretty good price for the amount of volume that they would be sending you. But at the same
Yeah.
time, can you handle that, or can you set up something where you can handle that? You know what I mean?
And that's where a lot of people who do that, they sell pallets, but they also break them down. That there's a lot of shady individuals who do that, and actually they'll cherry pick items from all the pallets that they sell, and they'll repackage them and sell the pallet like it's hadn't been through yet, but then it already has been. All the good items have been picked out of it. There are lots of people who do that. So if you do purchase from smaller places, we always encourage people like to find out if they sell individual items as well, and if they do, I would probably stay away from them.
Yeah, that makes sense. That was always my worry, jumping in the liquidation like that is, are these people, cherry picking stuff for themselves, or doing that type of thing. So yeah, that's good information for sure.
I have one more question. One more, maybe a couple more, but this one is a big one, I think. So, as most know, we homeschool our children as well. How do you balance homeschooling and your business? And how do you get your children to pay attention to their homeschooling?
I think for us, we are in transition with that. Jessica, she currently teaches at a homeschool co-op. So Tuesdays and Thursday mornings, she goes. There's a bunch of other, they kind of have traditional school. Last year it wasn't quite that way. This year it is, which is why I don't know if you've ever heard of unschooling before, but it's pretty much man, there's like so much I could talk about with just this, but I'm gonna try and stay on point. How do we get them to? It's all about routine. Granted, Jolene, Jolene and Luce. Jolene's 7, so she's like, I don't know what grade she'd be in if she went to public school, but most of the stuff she was like at a 2nd or 3rd grade level at 7. I think if she went to school, maybe first grade she'd be in. And then Lucy, she's 3 now, but she is also homeschooling because she wants to learn. So I think it's called The Good and the Beautiful. It's homeschool curriculum that Jessica has purchased that really it's designed for homeschooling parents who have kids who are on multiple age gaps. Like they're not the same age. Because for this the Good and the Beautiful, the great thing about it is it has like where they're all learning about the same theme, but then you contour the teaching for that specific age group. Where obviously like a 3-year-old, if you're teaching about the moon, there's some things that you can teach like Lucy, but then Jolene would get very boring if you just talk about the moon comes out at night and this and that, where Jolene's going to learn a lot more. Well, The Good and the Beautiful is actually designed around that to where it allows you to do that. But then it really just becomes like we're going to have to learn a new routine. Like we had a routine before the homeschool co-op. But a lot of the school is done now in the homeschool co-op, but it's like a big reason why Jessica doesn't we're like at the end of the semester, like we're going to be done with it because one, it got really restricted. Like we talked about unschooling, which is you're teaching kids how to learn. You're not telling them what to think. You're teaching them how to think. We're like in America's education system, like we've got a bunch of grownups who don't know how to think for themselves, and they don't even remember hardly anything that they learned in school because of how our schooling system is. It's like you teach people the kids about stuff, but then they don't, it's like not even really, it's good information, but it's not practical. Whereas like, Japan, like they've got the #1 education system in the world, and they're totally different with the way that they teach. They're all about, really teaching at a very young age, teaching kids emotional skills and how to communicate with one another, how to play, how to do all those things. And then they kind of teach them through life lessons, which is what we do, is that like we invite our kids into our lives. Like if we're cooking, that a way that we teach Jolynn through cooking is we teach her about measurements. We teach her about like 3/4 of a cup, about math, with doing equations, with measuring, all of those things. So we do that through life, but it's just about the routine, like having a routine, a set time every day, getting rid of distractions. Because with kids, is they need routine. You'll, especially when you're trying to start a new routine, the kids are going to buck up on it. They're not going to want to do it, but eventually you're the parent. Like they've got to get that routine. They've got to learn. But at the same time, it's like, how do you force somebody, another person, to do something that's against their will? It's a very patient process to have, but we've learned the more connection you have with that individual, because when they're feeling disconnected, that kids are going to buck up anyways. They're going to act out because it's all a cry for attention anyways. So, but if you are wanting them to do something, doing the best to stay connected with them while they're going through it and not, punish them, I should say. We live in a very punishment-driven society. We send everybody to jail. I'm not saying that people don't deserve to go to jail, because some people that do, they don't, it's not safe for them to be around people, but we tend to punish people when they don't need to be punished. But the routine, it's got to be the routine. It's like we're about to have to learn that when Jessica's done with the co-op, because it's going to be something slowly introducing it into our schedule. But that's why we want to get our eBay business done by noon. Like we want to dedicate 7 to 12 to our eBay business, and then a couple of hours a day to our YouTube, and then the rest of it to homeschool and to learning and to spending time with the family. And Jessica could probably give you a lot more practical tips with that, since she's kind of the leader when it comes to homeschooling.
I'm definitely going to have to hook up with her, because we use Khan's Academy with the kids.
Yeah.
And then they usually work for like 3 hours in the morning, 3 different subjects. They have math, grammar, and then they have an elective. But they've been sneaking off to YouTube land more and more, and I can't keep them focused, and I can't get what I need to have done, even though they're right there with me and I'm checking on them. They've gotten slick to where they can flip back and forth and I don't realize it. So I'm definitely going to have to get together with her and see how she, see if she can help me with that, because it's starting to get pretty stressful with that. So they're 11 and 13.
Yeah. So, for them, like, have they always been homeschooled?
The last couple of years they have been.
Yeah. So for them, they've probably got a lot of mindsets about learning that have to be broken, that it's not their fault, but a lot of times, especially early age, that learning's not fun. It's forced upon kids. Like in America, we try to teach kids way too early, like before they're ready, instead of teaching them about, like I said earlier, about how to communicate with one another and how to talk and express themselves and how to understand their emotions and understand those emotions and then how to communicate those. Instead, we teach them, like you need to be reading at this age, you need to do math, you need to do all these things. When like kids, they can learn those things very quickly in life, especially if they enjoy learning. Like if they enjoy learning and learning is fun, they're going to want to do it. And that's the environment that we try to create, where it's fun. Like the moment that it becomes unfun for our kids, we stop what we're doing and we try to change the approach with them so that it is fun and enjoyable for them. But it's a totally different mindset. Like you really have to break yourself free from the traditional schooling mindset that we were raised on if you went to public school.
I did.
So like you you don't really follow like a traditional, okay, we're going to sit down at this time and you're going to work on math. You're going to learn how to do division today. You kind of incorporate it into
Everyday
an
living.
everyday type project. See, and we've attempted to do that, and everybody told us we were wrong. That's not how you're supposed to homeschool your children. You know, they're not learning anything that way. They need to sit down and they need to have a math subject and they need to have an English subject and
Yeah,
where does America rank as far as the national schooling system goes, according to the civilized countries in the world? The bottom.
I couldn't tell you, but I can't imagine it's too high.
It's not like our education system is broken, right? And it goes against the trend. It goes against the cultural norms. It's like, of course, you're going to get lash and feedback. It's like you're doing it wrong. We get told all the time that we're parenting wrong, like, but we don't care. Like, we're not parenting our kids according to the way that the world tells us to. We're parenting our kids the way that we feel in our hearts that we're supposed to.
Yeah, my mom tells us all the time, you're going to go to jail because they're not doing this, they're not doing that. And I'm like, they're working, they have, they're learning their lessons, but they don't want, I don't know how to explain it.
Which we wouldn't go to jail. We wouldn't
wouldn't.
A fine. We wouldn't get it. Wisconsin is one of the most liberal homeschool states because they don't even follow up. They don't do any testing. Yeah. They don't do any verification. They don't. It's totally open. You're taking responsibility for how smart your kid is, basically.
Yeah, I mean, you can see the product of our education system. Like, it's not working. Like, it's broken.
Because like with our kids, if we sit down, like I say, she tries to get them to sit down and do like a math part of their thing, and it's a battle. It's a hassle. But if we go sourcing and say, okay, we're going to buy it for this and we're going to sell it for that, and this is our fees, what is the percentage of profit? They're all about that.
Yeah.
And they're doing much more complicated math.
Yeah.
The basic stuff we're trying to get them to do on the computer.
It's about learning our school system is about the right answer. They try to teach you to get the right answer, but you never really understand the concepts. Like for me, school was a joke. For me, like I hated school. I did extremely well according to the test, but like I hated it. Like it was not challenging at all. I don't know where I was going with that, but I'm just saying that with that, like the kids, you teach them in a way that they can grasp the concept. And it's like school, it's like they may never even understand the concept, but then they just test them to get the right answer. And as long as they got the right answer or they made a certain score, then they were fine. They were passed, but then they never actually understand the concept. But for you, like with incorporating them in that type of learning, you can see that they are actually understanding the concept. It's like Common Core. Whether you like, I love Common Core, right? I used to hate it, but then I actually understood Common Core. Common Core is teaching kids the concept. It's not saying that there's one way to get the answer, because there's not one way to get the answer. Common Core is really geared towards teaching kids a concept to do the thing. And it does just that. Like once, like Jolynn, like she does math like on a 4th or 5th grade level, and she's 7 years old. Right. And we don't spend a lot of time with it, but she understands the concepts, and we make sure that she doesn't go any further until she understands the concepts. And there's no comparison. Like people, like especially parents, and they get guilty, they feel shame. Like, well, my kid's 7 and they should be on a 2nd grade level, but they're not. And then they feel like, well, I must be doing something wrong. Like, no, like your kid's 7. Like if they were in another country, they probably wouldn't be learning this until they were 9 or 10 years old. But we put the pressure on ourselves as parents.
Yeah, our experience with Common Core was when the kids were in school, Joey used to be able to look at math problems and just give you the answer. And then at school, when the Common Core kicked in for him, he was writing down the answer, but he wasn't showing his work. And so because he wasn't showing his work, it was wrong. So that in turn caused him to hate math.
Yeah.
And so
it sucks because he that good with math, and he was able to understand the concept where he could provide the right answer because he understood the concept, but he wasn't fitting into the traditional school. I was the same way. Like, I would get C's in math homework because I wouldn't show my work. And like the teacher would be like, there's no way that you can do this in your head. I'm like, yeah, there is. Like, this is the answer. But then you come out of it hating math, something that you're really good at and that you enjoy, but then you come out of it hating it, and then you don't even want to learn about it because of these, you didn't show the work.
Yep. And that's where we're at with Joey right now, is that he doesn't like math. He doesn't. And he used to know math. Like it's like he reverted backwards and like forgot everything that he used to know. And it's very frustrating because they're both very smart children. It's just that when they were in school, they had to do it this way. We pulled them out of school, and we're trying to get them to learn, and they're just, I don't know how to get them excited about schooling again. And even though we've been doing this for a couple of years,
I think we let the pressure of people telling us this is how it needs to be done is what forced us into a routine of forcing them into an unenjoyable routine.
Yeah, you just got to make it fun for them. Like, Jessica could probably give you some more practical tips, and you can reach out to her on Facebook, or email or whatever. But like, just finding something that they like at their ages, that they're excited about, that they enjoy, and then trying to create as many learning opportunities around that thing as possible, and then teaching them how to learn it so that they find learning enjoyable.
Cool.
But it's harder than it's said, because we have to break free of the mindsets that we've been taught, and that's where the challenge comes in.
Very much so.
We're in high school. They had like a business class, but it was very, very bland, information wise, and I wish it was taught by somebody that would have went more in depth with it, because the person that after left, because he left and went to another school, someone else came in, they did like actual business type things, like a t-shirt design, and then when they sold it in the school, and then they went over the profits, the cost, the overhead, what you need, that type of thing. So I wish I was in school. Well, I wish I had that teacher that came after, because that at least gave me a general idea, if I would have been in that class of business. You know what I mean? Luckily, I got that from my dad or whatever, because he had a business when I was 5. But it's a mistake that it's sad that the schooling systems aren't doing that, because a lot of people are like us. We're doing our own business, we're doing our own thing, and we're learning basically off either each other or just on the whim of our own knowledge that we have, that we put together.
Right. Yeah. See, I think when it comes to schooling, as far as like the whole education system, I solely believe in that they want to teach you to be smart enough to go work a job, but not ask yourself why you're doing it. Just go do this because you need to do this and make money, but not why am I actually having to go work this job that I don't really like, just to make this money to pay these bills that I don't really like paying. And I don't like that.
And it's so much more than the education system. There's a definite trend. You can call me a conspiracy theorist, whatever. But they don't want educated people. They don't want people who can think freely. They want people to know what they are taught, but they don't want people who can think for themselves, because if they do, then they risk losing the power that they have. So
I
like,
feel like I just had this conversation with you the other day. That's exactly what he said.
it's so much more than school. It's the medicine, the medical system, everything. If you open your eyes and you start learning for yourselves instead of what the media is telling you to think, you'd be surprised. It's like the veil could be lifted from your eyes and you can see. And those are all big reasons why we do what we do, because we don't want our kids to be indoctrinated with false ideologies of this. It's crazy. But Jessica said, she texted me. I'm going to give Tommy her number for you to have that you can call her. But it's, you've got to de-school.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. And I was going to say something. Oh, in our school district, one of the main reasons why we pulled the kids out of our school district is because they were trying to force medication down the children's throats. And we fought and fought and fought. And yes, our son at the time needed help with his ADHD, and we didn't know natural ways to do it, and nothing was working. So we did have him on medication, but they wanted it with our daughter as well. And like 95% of the children in our school district are medicated.
Yeah.
And because we refused, there was meetings, we were cornered, they tried to blackmail us,
Our schools want to zombify the kids. They just want them to sit there, whether they're learning anything or not. They just want them to sit there.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they don't want them to have any activity, any energy, any self-thinking. They just,
and it's hard for a teacher, like we teach Sunday school and stuff, and we teach our kids. We've taught people in school. My sister, she's been a teacher for 15 years. This is another rabbit hole.
Yes, it is. It's okay.
But I can understand teachers' desires to want to do that, because they're under so much stress and pressure to have to get their kids to perform that. Of course, if you're trying to teach somebody a class and there's a disruptive kid, granted, it's probably no fault to the kid. Like, they were probably, a lot of the behavioral things are a byproduct of things that we've been injected with as kids. That's another subject. But they don't want that. They just, it's not that they just, it's hard to teach while you're trying to manage a couple of kids' behaviors. Like, it's hard. And then a lot of kids, they're acting out just because they need mom and dad's attention, because these kids are experiencing so many emotions in life that there is no safe place for them to be able to show those emotions, and they're scared. So they get to these environment with teachers, and like, they feel safe there because the teachers probably give them more attention than what their own parents do, because their parents are so focused on, living the American dream of getting that nice house and nice car, the new iPhone when it comes out, and all this junk that they don't actually need, that they can't focus on their kids because they're so stressed out from work that when they get home, they're vegging out on their phone and on TV, that their kids are just crying out for attention. That, they go to school and they're crying out for attention because they actually feel safe enough in front of their teachers to exhibit these behaviors because at home they don't feel safe.
Makes sense.
Yeah. Jaslyn, when she was in school, her teacher would teach in the front of the class, but she wasn't teaching things correctly. So Jaslyn would call her out on it.
In a respectful way.
Very respectful, but she's like, that's not true. And she would give the correct answer, and the teacher would send her out of the classroom repeatedly. She spent more time out of the classroom than in the classroom because, she was right, and what they were trying to teach wasn't correct. And so she wanted to make sure that she was teaching the right thing. And so it was done. It was horrible. And I like Jim and Tara's, if they insist on meds, ask if they are a doctor and can diagnose it. Stops right away then.
I did that when they were saying, well, your daughter's this and that, and she needs to be on this medication. I was like, you're a teacher. Show me your psychiatric credentials.
Yeah.
Show me credentials that that give you the authority to tell me what my daughter needs to be at.
Yeah.
None of it. They never produced them. So
Yeah, they didn't.
Yeah, like talking about like they don't want people thinking like we were just talking about this at work. Like they were saying that usually people that have ideas or suggestions or like to bring up things or whatever usually don't last in my job or whatever because they want people basically to run like robots and just do what you're told and because they have this implemented and that's it and personally I have a problem with that and I let my boss know that when I'm upset about XYZ and if I have an issue with something or whatever and so far so good. I'm still there, but it's crazy that that is the case because we should be able to. I've worked in a warehouse setting basically since during school with my dad's business and all the way up till now. I'm almost 35 years old, and I know some other people that have too, or maybe my boss has, but sometimes it is better to hear, some ideas or a fresh idea or something that could possibly make things better. Now, if I'm wrong, I'm wrong, but at least hear me out. And that's the problem I have, with my job. You know what I mean? They just want me to just, it's like you're not getting paid to think, just go and work. You know what I mean? And I don't like that at all.
Yeah. And that's a big traditional mindset that was really carried from the baby boomers about, just go to this job and work that same job for 30 or 40 years. Don't ever question your boss. Just do what you're told and just do it. Whereas, you have a very millennial mindset that you don't mind doing this stuff, but if there's a better way, you want the freedom and the ability to be able to express yourself and it be accepted instead of just because you want to be treated with dignity and respect and feel like you have a sense of belonging and that you're a part of it instead of just some cog in the wheel of productivity that they have. Right. So, it's really the managerial mindsets and really the behaviors for managers. They're really far behind with training management to have beliefs and really the knowledge to incorporate, to empower their employees to think freely, but still also be part of it where they are working towards that common goal. And you look at the successful companies that the big like Apple, IBM, 3M, all those places, they create that environment that fosters people's ability to be creative and to bring suggestions forth.
Yeah, like if you go to a job and you're doing something and you're falling into an issue or it's making you work longer or whatever, and it's not going to screw up the business side of things. Like if it's a small tweak of a routine or whatever the case may be of your job, that's where I feel like they should be totally up to hearing whatever, even like in my business, like if my wife would make a suggestion or whatever, I'm all ears because I want things to run smoother, in my household and in my business and with the kids and everything else. So, you know what I mean? It just, basically having like a just open mind, with everything that, anything you're a part of, business, home, and everything else.
Agreed.
I didn't mean to have a 20-minute conversation. But I was curious. I was very curious. And so I don't get to talk to many parents that are work and, do this and homeschool at the same time. So
yeah. And that's
I thought I had my chance.
Yeah, that's something that we're trying to figure out. We have a very unique like all that's very unique. I mean, 3 kids, the business and other stuff that we have. Like we're trying to figure out how do we put this out there, all out there on YouTube, and also just with being available to people that a lot of people don't know. Like there's like parents are very there's not a lot of support that you get from other parents that parents are hard on each other anyways, especially society as a whole, is very hard on parents. And then you throw in, running your own business, which is an extremely stressful thing. and then trying to parent your kids and do all that and balance it all. Like it's stressful, but you're right. There isn't a lot of support. There's not a lot of teaching that's out there that can do it all, and to show people that, hey, like we're going through this is what we're learning. This is what we do. It may work for some, it may not work for you, but here's another way.
It's true.
Awesome.
Okay. Well, it looks we can go on an hour and 40 minutes, so I think we're going to kind of wind it down. If you guys got any last minute questions or statements, we'll.
Just a couple things I wanted to mention too before we jump off, if that's cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
I just wanted to let everybody know that Nate, Every Day I'm Hustling on the panel here, is going to be taking day of the week for his channel too. So if you're not subscribed to him yet, make sure you do, because as of next week, Nate's going to be taking over our Wednesday show. So to make sure you don't miss anything, you want to make sure you're subscribed to his channel as well. We will start putting our new schedule in our descriptions as well. But essentially, Tommy's going to take Monday and Friday. I'm going to stay on Tuesday and Thursday, and Nate's going to take Wednesday.
Hump day.
Yep.
Yeah, he gets the midweek breakup.
So that's going to be our new schedule for the morning show. So I just want to make sure everybody's aware of that. And I'll probably be a thorn in your side reminding you every day until next Wednesday, just so we don't miss any of you guys when we start going over to Nate's channel too.
And I do have his link down in the description for anybody that's not subscribed. They can get over there and subscribe so they don't miss any episodes or anything.
If you want to post something down below, Nate, just like so people can click your three dots. I've dropped his link several times throughout the show, so it's in there. But just click on the three dots by Every Day I'm Hustling, and you should be able to go over and subscribe to his channel. He's getting close to that 250. He's going to be doing a gift card giveaway. So if you guys want to get him there, we can definitely reap some rewards there.
Right. Well, I'll do a video and we'll do some type of comment thing and we'll do it live, or I'll do a video with it, and we'll give that $25 gift card away.
And Joe, I want to thank you very much for coming on today, and we're definitely going to have you back on when you and Jessica can make it together.
Yeah, I think that'd be cool.
Maybe
Because it'd be very interesting to hear her side of what she feels, her input.
Michelle, I'm hoping we won't be able to give a lot of detail about it, but I'm soon we should be able to at least say what's been going on. Not a whole lot of detail, but it's exciting. It's exciting. And then I feel like somebody else had a question somewhere that I thought was interesting. And then also, if we did an interview with Daily Refinement that he put out on Saturday, that kind of gives really a structure to our day, kind of how we do things, kind of our goals. I'll be putting it on our channel probably here pretty soon, but I want to give him the opportunity first to have it on his. But I know today if you're wanting to know more about liquidation, where to find certain things, we've got a video coming out this afternoon that is about where to find Amazon pallets. So kind of go through like bulk and liquidation. But on Mondays, you should expect to get every Monday a video related to liquidation and buying liquidation. And then on other days, we got some vlogs coming out to let you know about our life and family and some unboxing videos and stuff like that.
It's awesome.
And I do have a link to your channel as well down in the description. So
thank you.
Nice. I've dropped it several times too, down below in the chat as well. So make sure you guys are subscribed to Joe, and congratulations on surpassing 2,000. That was awesome, man. Yeah,
it was. It's been quite the process. But I'm actually trying it now. I get so focused on the business that I'm like, YouTube for me, it's like those long tail items that you invest in that at some point will bring profitability.
Mm-hmm.
But when you need cash now, you need cash flow. Like we've been really working hard the last several months to build up cash flow for Christmas time and buying strategic items for that. So now that we're in it, our cash flow is where we need it. Like we can actually, devote the time towards YouTube. And because we do have that unique story, it's something different that we do want to get out for people to see and to be encouraged, and also know that there's another way to do all this with a family, and that you don't have to be so solely focused on building a business that you lose sight of what's most important. I guarantee you, if you ask every 60, 70, 80, 90-year-old what things that they would have done more of, and they would probably say spend more time with family, work less, spend more time with family. So, yep. But that's us.
Good stuff. Anything coming on your channel, Tommy or Destiny?
I do random stuff. I never know when I'm doing anything. So just kind of keep an eye out.
Pretty much the same thing here. If I ever feel like hitting that go live button, we go live. I don't have anything scheduled though. And when I do that, it's usually just a hangout or something like that besides the morning show.
Yeah. How about you?
An occasional happy hour here and there.
Yeah.
I think Amber's gonna make a video today.
Nice.
She got all dolled up for it, so
What's up?
I think she's gonna go out and do some footage.
I've been wanting to see more Amber.
Well, I think my GoPro's charged, so as long as it's charged, she's gonna do a video.
That's what's up. Yeah, keep an eye out for that, guys. Amber's gonna be doing some content on Nate's channel.
Yeah, it'll be a little bit different perspective other than the typical reseller. If you have a wife or husband that's not into this, you might want them to check it out because they can add value to your business by doing what she's doing. Just going out when she's out in the store and checking out stuff. So
for sure.
Yeah. And at some point we'll talk about that, because Jessica was not on board with reselling for a long time. I know there's lots of people who, one spouse does reselling and the other one does not really like it, or they want security. A lot of people, they just want security, and reselling, owning your own business is not very secure at all. So at some point we hope to be able to talk about that thing and give some practicals of what to do when your spouse isn't on board, how you could be more communicative to soften or ease their fears or anxieties that they may have about your choice of profession. But I think that would be useful also.
That would be awesome. I would love to see that. My wife is supportive with me being a reseller, but at the same point, outside of going to the stores with me, sometimes she doesn't really want anything to do with it. For the most part, it's kind of like she's like, okay, that's your thing. Like, I support you in your thing, but you know what I mean? Like, she doesn't want to actually make it her thing because she's so busy with, nursing and caregiving and all the stuff that she does throughout the week that she's just like, yeah, you do that and I'll do me. That's kind of the way it works in our house, at least. I would like to get her more involved because eventually I want to be able to like really cut down on her hours that she spends at work and just kind of have the business kind of be something that she can work when she wants to work, but she doesn't have to be bogged down by, the 50, 60 hours minimum she's working right now. So I would like to see her get a little more involved. I'll suck her in some way. But I just dropped a link to our Facebook group down below. I'd really appreciate it if you guys would go and join that. We do post a lot of stuff in there about like who's coming on the show, different things about the show. We also use that as a means to help promote one another, or say you pick something up and you don't know anything about it and you want to ask other resellers about it. Like, we use it for that as well. Really, the only role that we've set up for it is just be nice to each other. Other than that, it's like a free for all. You can do whatever you want there. But we've been using that as kind of a way to communicate with one another. So make sure you join the Facebook group if you haven't already. Tommy did drop a link earlier to our podcasts. For example, this will probably be uploaded later on today for anybody that missed it, or for people that would rather, just listen and not watch. So that's another great media platform that the show is reaching out into. So we're trying to grow. If any of you guys would mind sharing out the show, whether, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, however you do, we'd appreciate it because we would like to see the show continue to grow and reach new audiences. And we want you guys to all be a part of that too. So,
and that link is also available in the description too.
Great. But yeah, I mean, I guess we're unwinding here. If you guys are interested, I did release a video this morning at 8 a.m. It's a what sold on Macari video. So if anybody's interested in Macari, or maybe you're using it or you're thinking about using it, I basically go over everything that I've sold in like the couple months I've been doing it. So
cool.
Quick and enjoyable video for anyone that wants to watch it. Tomorrow we're back on my channel. We're going to be talking about the Black Friday deadline for Amazon FBA, and I'm sure we'll be talking eBay and other platforms too. So it's not going to be strictly Amazon, but it is going to be the deadline for the Amazon FBA for Black Friday.
Cool. So with that, I think we're just going to say farewell, and everybody have a safe, productive day. Get done what you set out to do, and see you tomorrow morning.